Dr. Bimal Jalan, former Governor of the Reserve Bank of India, joining us on the show. Dr. Jalan, now, in the past we've spoken about targets for inflation that we'd ideally like to see the Indian economy get back to. And we've talked about targets in the near term, targets over the longer term. But in the near term, at least over the next 12 to 18 months, should we come to terms with the idea that inflation is going to be a 6 to 7% game?
No, I think so. I think most of the consensus view is that it would be around that number, but it's much lower than what was anticipated, say, 3 months or 6 months ago. So, it's comfortable. There's nothing to worry about, and I hope it will get better over time.
That also, Dr. Jalan, as we continue to see, right pricing of administered products by the central government, as it progresses in the direction of fiscal consolidation, do you believe that, again, the impact on inflation, which, is going to play out in inflation, would effectively mean that we should, prepare to see numbers much higher than we have been seeing so far?
No, I think there are some basic issues that we have to grapple with. You have fiscal deficit issue because of very large amount of subsidies. Then you have administered prices, which you want to keep low for the poor, for the BPL, and so on and so forth. So you are trying to reconcile very different objectives. And somewhere I believe that we are getting towards a better path just now, because inflation is lower, growth estimates are higher, and you are seeing that there is a current account of optimism also. So by and large, I think that these different things, different issues that you've been discussing for the last some time, as to where inflation will go, where growth will go, where balance of payments would go. There are positive signals all around, and so I'm by and large quite comfortable with it. And if the policy improvements continue to happen, reform side in terms of investment and so on, then we should see a much better future with lower inflation. Does it answer your question?
On the current account deficit, so yes, it does. It does. And Dr. Jalan, on the current account deficit front, how concerning does the situation look to you, given the quality of flows that are plugging the gap?
No, I believe that we are in better shape just now. Partly because oil prices, they have dipped, and as I can see that you have a current account deficit which can be financed. Even if the capital flows are not as high as they used to be, they are sufficient to finance it, and we have enough reserves to take care of it. At the moment, therefore, there are different signals. If you look at CAD, there is something, fiscal deficit, there is something. If you look at inflation, there is something. But at the moment, the priority for our country is really investment and growth. And I think if we push those by taking policy measures there, and we have initiated those some of these measures, then certainly India would achieve what we all wanted to achieve, which is a rate of growth of at least 7 to 8% over the next year or two.
Right. Also, Dr. Jalan, we've had a number of initiatives taken by government over the last 3 to 4 months. Now, while sentiment has improved on the ground, what do you believe it's going to take for private investment to get kick-started once again?
No, private investment would get kick-started, I have no doubt about it. Once there is definitiveness about our policy, there is less talk and more action. There are always choices to be made, and yes, fiscal deficit may be higher by 0.23% or something like that, but these are not crucial issues. The crucial issue is to show our determination in terms of both public investment, in terms of reforms, and in terms of what we say we will do. I can't see any fundamental problem in Indian economy which can't be handled just now. So I hope that we will see in the next 2-3 months more measures. The next budget is coming, and I'm very hopeful that it will show us the path to a much higher growth and much higher investment levels, with current account deficits and capital account balances being at a reasonable level. And that would give the confidence. I see, as you have heard on your talk just now with your other correspondents, is that there is an improvement in sentiment, and things have improved over the last 3 months. And so let's be cheerful and optimistic.
Dr. Jalan, afternoon. Do you think so in that case that perhaps the government has done enough for the RBI to be more sanguine about future inflation growth dynamics to ease the policy in the next quarter? Or do you think the recent rise in the CPI inflation close to 10% calls for an increased caution?
No, I think there is no need for an increased caution just now. When as I said, there are always choices to be made, and there are different conflicting interests and conflicting points of view, and so on and so forth. So you have to choose, and you have to balance these choices. And I think at the moment a lot of expectation has been roused about interest rate cuts, and there is no reason why we can't follow it up in December or January or whenever the next policy announcement is, to give a boost to that sentiment. Just think. 0.25 basis point or 0.5 basis point, how does it matter in actual reality? What matters is that it gives confidence, it signals that we are moving, and that investment should rise, and that is our highest priority just now. So I hope all this would happen in the next round.
But also, Dr. Jalan, the government has stated clear intent in terms of getting government finances in order. But for the current financial year, the fiscal deficit target that the finance ministry is sticking to, 5.3%, do you believe that is achievable, or do you believe it's high time they came out with a more reasonable number that the markets are going to believe?
No, I think that 5.3, 5.4, that's quite all right to my mind. We accept that it is going to be the reasonable level. One very fundamental point that we should all keep in mind is that 0.1% here or 0.2% there doesn't matter that much, as long as we are doing the right thing. Supposing, just take for example, that if for pushing investment, instead of 5.3, you have 5.4, with all of this going into capital expenditure. Would it be positive or would it be negative? So I am very comfortable just now with regard to the levels of fiscal deficit and what is being done to control expenditure side, that is the current expenditure, and the determination to increase investment. So I hope that you would see a very positive environment in the next 6 months.
Sure, but Dr. Jalan, I don't think the markets are so worried about 0.3 becoming 0.4 or 0.5. The bigger concern is the quality of expenditure, and do you believe we are moving in the right direction in terms of setting right the quality of expenditure? Because the markets don't seem to believe so.
No, but absolutely. You've raised a very, very important point. Once you just keep that aside, that is 5.3, 5.4, 5.5, yes, it is the quality of expenditure which is of utmost importance. The government has said that it is going to increase investment, it is going to increase capital expenditure. And I believe, and a committee under Prime Minister has already been set up, and so on and so forth, that this is the thing which requires a great deal of push, that it is the capital expenditure side which should improve, and that we should implement our projects on time, and we should try and give responsibility to the ministries for which they are where they are accountable. The biggest problem that we have in our country, and here I speak as a citizen, that we can announce anything we want on the floor of the house or outside the house or in the budget, that costs so much capital expenditure, so many projects. But who is accountable? Tell me, who is accountable? So to complete projects, there are only 3-4 days ago, there is a news item that projects are going to be delayed. Now, somebody must pay the price.